Hello and welcome to Raising Those Spirits. I'm Steve,
Sam.
and if this all goes well, this is like 6 weeks in a row with episodes. We're
My
back.
goodness, is that true? That's probably a record for us. Yeah, don't say things like we're back, because then that'll give either someone a lung infection or I don't know. It's the summertime. We're gonna just end up a lot of places. That seems to be the things usually go.
Yeah, that's fair.
Uh, yeah, you know how it is. What's
S-
new? How you doing?
you know, I we are we're at the summer birthday party season already. My son came home today with two more birthday party invites, and I'm like, I'm very glad that you're popular, but this is eating up a lot of my weekends. Remember when we were kids and our parents could just drop us off at a birthday party? They didn't have to stay.
Oh, I don't remember well enough, but I think that's probably true.
Yeah,
That I remember being as young as your son is now. I think I can remember being my daughter's age. She's almost 7.
really? I remember being 3 or 4.
Um,
I remember all my years of preschool. Not like a ton, but I remember definitely a lot of distinct memories from when I was that age.
so I guess it's such a jumble. I'm trying to think, because like pre-K, can I remember? Okay, so your son would be, he's in pre-K now, right? Or
Yeah, he's in pre-K.
equivalent thereof.
He just misses the cutoff, I
And I
think.
remember
So
pre-K.
he has one more year of pre-K.
All right. I think I can remember pre-K. I remember pre-K. I remember kindergarten. I remember my teachers were nice. My dog is now barking. Shut up, dog.
It's fine. I got a cat behind me meowing because she wants
She's mad at me.
attention.
My dog does not remember what it was like to be in kindergarten because my dog is a dog. Um, no, but I just, I remember being fun. I think it's better now. Like my daughter's school experience, I think is a bit more enriching than mine was because teachers now I think know how to work with kids in a more meaningful way. Uh just the stuff that they do. Like my daughter doesn't she never gets homework. Is the her teacher had the idea. It was like, well, if I send the kid home with homework and they're 6 years old, that's just the parent doing the homework. Why bother? Or like if they get or they're all having attention issues, there's a trampoline in her classroom and they can all just like jump on the trampoline until they get their attention back.
That's
Um
something.
for
Yeah.
kindergarten and pre-K were like that.
Hey, a photo loaded in. I was dreading homework the other day. I was like, 6-year-olds shouldn't get homework. Like, I shouldn't have to deal with homework till at least like fourth grade. Until they're learning
Homework is dumb.
multiplication.
Yeah. I'm the older I get, I remember being a kid and saying like, "Oh, homework is stupid. They shouldn't give kids homework. Why are they doing this? This is torture." And as I get older, I continue to agree with my past self. It doesn't, all homework does is prepare you for a life where you never turn off. And I don't think that's healthy. Um, like teach at school, then have after school for after school activities, and don't bog people down with just meaningless junk. That's my opinion. That's my opinion. I'm sticking with it.
I mean, studies have proven that homework is detrimental for kids. Like,
It's terrible.
yeah. No, it doesn't add. It doesn't enrich enough to for like the amount of effort and work it takes.
No, I would imagine that's true. Just don't do homework. Homework is silly.
You should only do homework if you're researching cryptids.
Which is what if that was the assignment, then I think I just barely skirted by for this week. So United States of Cryptid. If you're a new listener, This is a segment each week where we find a cryptid from a different state. We're going through the states alphabetically and we feed their description into the Mid Journey AI and see if we can create what is described in the folklore and come up with some of our own stuff. So this week I had Maryland. I've never lived in Maryland, but I once lived um, maybe feet from the Maryland border when I was in college in DC. So I spent a lot of time in Maryland. I picked the Snallygaster. Have you ever heard of the Snallygaster, Steve?
I don't think so.
So this one, I had never heard of this either, but it seems like it's been popping up a bit in modern fiction. So he's gaining some popularity. He or she, I don't know the gender of this cryptid. They're, they're from Maryland. According to Wikipedia, they're from Frederick County, Maryland. It was initially described by the German settlers as a quick ghost, which was translates into German as Schnellgeist, which became Schnallygaster. It was a chimera type monster, described as having features of a bird or lizard, or often octopus tentacles coming out of its mouth, which is super creepy. And it was popularized in the area in the 19th century as a way of frightening freed enslaved people, I suppose, into submission. So that's not good. Don't really love that little bit of history, but it's part of the story of it. And then there started being more and more accounts of sightings of the Snallygaster in the 20th century. It was reported on in newspaper articles in the first half of the 20th century. Here we are in the 21st century, and the Snallygaster has popped up in Fallout 76, which I've actually never played. Pops up in some of the Harry Potter universe stuff. And was even a boss in Blair Witch Volume 2 Legend of the Coffin Rock video game.
Okay.
So it is, yeah, so you got to think of it as being kind of a lizard and kind of a bird and kind of has octopus tentacles coming out of its mouth. There's even a museum in Maryland. There's a Snallygaster Museum, which I hope a day to get to next time I am in Maryland.
All right. So looking at your photos, and the first one, the bottom left, seems to be the closest.
Yeah, I would say bottom left. Yeah, because you got those good octopus tentacles, and that group of photos I just put in Snallygaster.
Ah.
Which usually Mid-Journey, when you just put in like the name of an obscure cryptid, it just throws out something completely random, often a chicken. Um, Whereas this one, it looks like it must have been pulling from some of the imagery that is online of it. It does none of this looks exactly like what I've seen drawings of it, but some of the primary elements are there, like those octopus tentacle tongue. Um, so I think it's a pretty good depiction of it. The second group of photos is a half reptile, half bird with a metallic beak lined with tentacles. And these look like kind of somewhere between a crow and a Jurassic Park velociraptor.
Yeah.
They're all pretty cool. I don't know, they look more like movie monsters than they do cryptids. Um, and this final section is half bird with features of a siren. Sometimes they were referred to as looking like sirens. With nightmarish demon features. And these all have kind of a say Art Nouveau sort of style. There's one very cool image in the bottom right of this third group, um, that I think is very evocative of the 1920s sort of artistry.
I
A beautiful woman.
I love 1, 2, and 4 from this collection. It gives me a very big cabinet of curiosities type of a vibe,
Hmm.
like the old Victorian like museums of the weird.
Yeah,
Honestly, it gives me a very Gravity Falls vibe.
which is perfect.
It is.
Yeah, I think the one with the beak, I guess being the siren sort of features, um, is just it's a cool image. It's interesting that kind of went with this sort of oil painting type style.
And she does have
Um,
tentacles instead of legs.
oh, that's right. They're kind of like coming up. It still was able to pull that tentacle description. Um, and I like this. It's kind of like it's a cross between a crow and a heron and maybe a peacock in the top right of this bottom group.
Top left, you mean?
Top left of this bottom group. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely get Cabinet of Curiosities vibe off of that because they were big on like combining multiple animals to be like, behold, this chimera bird,
Mhm.
like, and this really looks like they did like take parts of all three of those things and make a really wicked looking bird.
Yeah, I could see this as being like a brooch. Like it could be made into a piece of metallic jewelry. I think it would make a really pretty brooch.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Interesting creature, the snallygaster. I like that it's like a bird but with tentacle mouth, kind of like a Cthulhu type thing. But yeah, if I was gonna pick one of these to create a new cryptid out of, I would say, yeah, from the bottom group, either of the top ones from the third group, I think would be the best ones.
Yeah, I think either of the top ones, you could make an argument for the woman in the bottom right to do a crap, Arnold Schwarzenegger's Mars, No Memory, Total Recall.
Oh, a Total
A
Recall
Total
sort of
Recall thing where like the bird's who
mutant.
talks, not the woman.
That'd be weird.
Um,
Um,
or it's like a parasite that goes onto a person because it can't speak because it doesn't have vocal cords, but it like speaks through a person, like an Independence Day.
oh man, you made that super creepy.
Yeah, I
Well,
mean
now I
that's
like that.
so.
Now
I
I like
mean,
that. The bird attaches it so it's like a reverse parrot. It's a bird that
yes,
attaches itself to a person and then kind of takes over them and talks through the person that it's latched onto.
I like that you said parrot because bird of paradise. It should be like the opposite of that. It's like a bird of purgatory.
Ooh, the bird of purgatory.
Man,
Oh, okay. So it attaches itself to souls as they before they get lost. Maybe it tries to help them find their way, or if it feels like or if it's a devious one, it pushes them over the edge into oblivion.
I like the idea that if things didn't move on, it's because they had unfinished business, and it helps give them a voice to fix their business.
Ooh, it's like the crow.
Yeah, it like helps them like almost like a séance where you could pass a message through.
Oh, the bird of purgatory. Now I'm a very big fan of this one.
I literally was just like doing a quick comment on this one. I was really focused on the top two, and I was kind of trying to give it an honorable mention. But the more that we've talked about it, it just writes itself.
Oh yeah. So there you go. I think that's our pick. That is the new cryptid we've created, the bird of purgatory, giving a voice to the lost souls.
I love it. Similarly,
Ooh,
because we used
chills.
to do like a what are you doing spooky? There's a manga and an anime called Miriko-chan,
Hmm.
and it's a horror comedy where it's kind of like The Sixth Sense, but this teenage girl just wakes up one day being able to see like all the ghosts and monsters and stuff all over Tokyo, and she just is trying to get through her day acting like she doesn't see all of this. and it is very funny and very cute. Do recommend. It's good and spooky, and for some reason the anime specifically, like the first 2 or 3 episodes are like a little pervy for no reason, just like the camera angles they chose. And don't let that deter you if you're doing the anime instead of the manga, because A, they drop that really quickly, and B, it's such a good series. Like, it's funny, but
Mm.
also like certain episodes have made Petra cry. There's one episode where she's cried at 3 separate parts of the episode.
Oh, that's worse than Bluey.
Yeah. And so it's kind of got a vibe with the cryptid we just created, because like a lot of the ghosts are just trying to pass along like one last message or something. They like their unfinished business isn't like that unmanageable. They just need a voice. But yeah, so we've been doing that. Recommend it, and I like the bird of purgatory that we've created. Since they spit out
So
so many
beautiful.
chickens, maybe we can have like a whole murder of birds of purgatory, and they all do different things.
Oh, they all have different kind of goals in mind.
Yeah, they all have a different
Some of
purpose or
them are,
task.
ooh,
We could say
that's
they're like
good. I'd read this gothic novel.
cousins of Valkyries, because Valkyries like escort warriors who have fallen on the battlefield to Valhalla. They do the other half, or they do another part of it where they're just helping people who didn't move on get their unfinished business
Get
off.
to
So
where they
that
need to be.
yeah, they deal with the stragglers.
Oh, they kind of they would pray in the graveyards and find those souls that hadn't moved on, that are not damned, and that are not rewarded.
And that's why there's always weird birds hanging around like cemeteries and old battlefields and stuff.
Yeah, so if you're in an old cemetery, don't make eye contact with the birds.
If you feel like you're being watched, you are, but not by the ghosts.
You might be the ghost.
It's a bird of purgatory. All right. I'm happy with
What are you
this.
drinking, Steve?
So, I didn't do a drink this week. I did an alcoholic dessert.
Oh, what was that? That sounds great.
Okay, so one of my favorite summer desserts. So we always, whenever strawberries are on sale, and also in the summer I
Hmm.
grow strawberries, we always buy fresh strawberries, chop them up, and then freeze them, and then I put them in like smoothies or whatever. Uh,
Sure.
but one of my favorite summertime things to do is angel food cake, and then you
Mm,
take and don't make your own angel food cake. Angel
it's
food
too much
cake,
work.
oh, it takes 7 to 12 eggs.
A lot of eggs.
It. I literally went to the store and looked at a pre-made angel food cake and a dozen eggs, and the food cake was cheaper than the 12
Huh.
eggs. Um, but yeah. So anyway, I take angel food cake. You slice it. You get a nice slice of it. Then you take your frozen strawberries, some heavy cream, and some powdered sugar, and you put them either into a food processor or a blender, and you make them into almost like an ice cream consistency, like a soft serve, and then you glaze that on top of the angel food cake, and it's frozen and sweet and light, and it's very good. So I love that. But we had strawberry Baileys, and pour some of that in as well.
Oh
Make it
my
no,
God.
yeah,
I want to cry listening to you describe this.
it was very good.
Oh my God. Sounds so good.
What abomination did you make this week?
This week I went very simple after last week's.
Oh, that's a shame.
Again,
Petra,
you know what I'm gonna say? I would say that that absinthe plus maple syrup is good. I stand by that. That drink was good.
Petra listens to me
What
edit
that to
this,
say?
and I think your weird substitutions are her favorite part of the episodes.
I never get my act together to go to the liquor store.
Well, I mean,
I
I
wouldn't.
I support you in that because I'm like, man, if I buy that, then I'm gonna have a whole bottle of it, and I need like a teaspoon of it. Like,
No, I have a bottle of like amaretto or something. So, or I forget some drink that I never drink that I bought because I did it for one drink early on in the run of the show, like 3 years ago, and it's just sitting on my shelf. And I'm just like, I have not touched that since then. I have no desire to. Why did I do that? So yeah, absinthe plus maple syrup plus a little bit of spritzy spritz. It was good. And it's not anyway. This week I did a Hunkle Stan, which I found someone on Tumblr came up with, and it is 1 part whiskey to 3 parts root beer. And it's great.
that sounds
It's just
amazing.
it no, it just tastes like a spiked root beer. And root beer was already one of my favorite drinks. So I could definitely recommend the Hunkle Stand.
All right.
Way to go, whoever on Tumblr invented that. I don't remember now. Someone on Tumblr invented this, and I praise them.
When I went out years ago now, I went out to San Diego for a month for work, and
Hmm.
my wife came
Gotta
with
get those
me.
fish tacos.
Oh man, yeah, we I was well. What that's part of the story. We went to Old Town a lot because there was this Mexican place that we actually saw in diners, drive-ins, and dives, and we went back at least twice a week the entire month we were there. But uh, Old Town San Diego, it's basically like they've kept it like historical old like Mexican architecture and stuff.
Sure, I've seen pictures.
Oh, it's a really cool part of San Diego, but they have like an old, I don't know if it's a fort or what, if it's like an old plantation, something like that. And you can walk around it, and it's like an open air mall almost, but they make their own old fashioned root beer and sarsaparilla and stuff there, and the root beer was so good.
Oh, that sounds so good.
Yeah. So if you ever find yourself in Old Town, you'll know the place when you see it. You can't miss it. It's like a big focal point. And go in, try their like old root beer recipe. It's tasty.
I don't want to do that.
Back when I,
Anyway,
oh okay, I was gonna digress. Let's move on.
oh no, digress. No, do it.
Back when I used to get shipped off to summer camp every summer when I was a kid, one of my
Wee lad.
one of my favorite counselors that we saw every year, he was like in his 20s at the time, um, loved root beer. And but he had like a heart attack or something at like 22, 23, and
Oh, sheesh.
due to like a heart defect, like, and he's like better,
Yeah.
but the doctor was like, you can't drink soda anymore. And he was just like, root beer is my favorite thing in the entire world. And I have felt bad for that man for like 25 years.
Well, I wonder if you could just like have a sip and swish it around your mouth and then spit it out.
I know he could have diet barks for whatever reason. So, like, people were always
That's
buying
not the
him diet
same.
barks as like a little treat. And I'm like, I guess it scratches an itch, but as someone who has a lot of food allergies for things that they love, just like being told one day, like, oh, you can't have your favorite drink anymore, it's just the biggest bummer.
No, that sounds depressing.
So we'll move on to Gravity Falls and not note.
Oh yeah, so this week we're talking about Gravity Falls. Uh, one of my very, very favorite shows ever. Not just like kid shows and not just animated shows. One of my very favorite things to watch. I don't think I've ever um I don't think there's a bad episode of the bunch.
It's so good. I watched it not right when it came out, but shortly after my wife and I watched. I think we watched the whole thing in one weekend because before you have
Sure.
children, you can do that. And um, God, yeah, it was just so good, and it was really fun to revisit. I'm actually mad though because we have 2 weeks between episodes, and I was like, I promised you I'd get through the first 10. I was hoping to finish the first season, and my dream was to get through all 40 episodes. But for the first like week plus, my son just like every time I tried to put it on, he had a meltdown. He was in like a
Uh,
Scooby Doo rut, and then I finally got him to watch the first episode, and he was like hooked. And so I got to catch the first three quarters of the first season. But God, it was so fun to revisit. Like I remembered loving Gravity Falls, but you don't remember like when you haven't seen something in like a decade why you loved it so much. And oh my God, it's so good.
yeah, my daughter. I would say probably it was 2 years ago when she first got onto a Gravity Falls kick. And I think I watched the entire series with her probably 3 times in a pretty rapid succession. And it's still one of the things that I could just throw on and she'll watch.
I would love that.
Really, of all the things, like it's definitely one of the most introductory spooky things because I think it was probably the first like spooky show she watched that she was completely captivated by and then spun off into her watching other spooky things. I really think that Gravity Falls is probably what really kicked it off for my daughter.
It's such a
Um,
great introduction into the weird because it's very Monster of the Week, but there's also an overarching plot.
right.
And
Uh, How would you describe it? So, I mean, for anybody, I imagine
it's
most
Rick and
people
Morty for
who.
children.
There you go. That's probably the most accurate. It's more along. It's like X Files style. We've got Mabel and Dipper are twins who are living with their great uncle Stan in Gravity Falls, Oregon, where just weird stuff is happening, and they solve a mystery every week, and it's delightful. It is, I think, really one of the best products Disney has put out.
Yeah, I they ended after two seasons on purpose. That was Alex Hirsch's planned run for it, but he has always maintained that he will come back to it if and when he has a good enough story to tell, and I'm waiting for the day.
There's been a lot of rumors, even within the last couple of weeks, that he's been in conversations with Disney about bringing it back. I'll believe it when I see it. Um, and honestly, I really do truly hope it would only happen if he had like another part of the story to tell, because it really benefits from the fact that they just did 2 seasons. They did one complete story arc in those 2 seasons.
They
Um,
explained most everything.
yeah, it's very tight. That
There's not a lot of
it's a
loose
very
ends.
tight show. No, there's no loose ends. It's a very satisfying ending. It leaves off in a place where like they easily could pick up and do more. Like they leave enough so that the door is open to additional stories being told, but at the same time, it's a satisfying conclusion, and you can watch the whole thing in a weekend if you binge it, and get a really satisfying spooky animated experience.
And there's also a ton of shorts for Gravity Falls, and I absolutely recommend watching them. Uh, Basically, each character gets a few shorts. Like the maintenance guy Seuss has like a fixing it with Seuss one. There's like Mabel's scrapbook. Blah blah blah. We quote fixing it with Seuss to this day on a weekly basis because there's
Which line?
I make my own economy. So it's they're he's helping them fix up a golf cart so they can do like a stunt jump, and it goes. He's the handyman around the mystery shack, and the stunt cart ends up like going through the roof of the mystery shack, and Grunkle Standis is like, Seuss, there's a hole in the roof. Fix it. And he's just like, I make my own economy. And he goes up to fix the hole he just created. So whenever we do anything like that where we now have to fix the problem that we made, we will say that in my house. Um, and that's the thing. Every single episode, I'm realizing while watching it, has at least one quotable line.
Yeah,
Like,
that's true.
it is shocking how many I'd forgotten because there's just too many to keep up on. I was just like, God, the amount that we used to quote this, every single episode has a big laugh and has a good quote. And I can't say that even about most of the kid shows that I like, which brings me to the agreement that it's not just one of the best kid shows, it's just one of the best shows.
Yeah, I think the writing certainly transcends it being aimed at kids. It's clever enough and it's well written enough
God, yeah, they tie
that
in so much stuff. It's devastating by the end of season two when just like all the town oddballs, you get their backstories slowly, and you're like, oh, they're not a weird oddball. This is a tragedy. Like, it's that's hard to do.
I think there's so many children oriented shows. I think this is probably a problem more in live action shows than it is cartoon shows, where the characters are just so broad and dumb. I don't know. Like how there's so many times where my daughter is watching a show and it is written to be so dumbed down and so like jokes that are so broad as to be uninteresting and not funny. Whereas every moment in Gravity Falls, I think, is written intentionally and intelligently, and it never tries to um, be a a broad appeal sort of show. Like it knows its audience, it knows the people who are going to be connected to it, and it's working for them. It's Yeah, I can't say enough good things about the show, but I'll continue.
Yeah, Gravity Falls is the opposite of most shows that my wife and I like, whereas Gravity Falls is very plot focused. The characters are fairly one dimensional, two dimensional, whatever. Um, but the story is amazing in its complexity and its subtlety. And normally we're more into like we want better characters, but Gravity Falls goes the other way and it nails it so perfectly. I'm like it's up there with all the other stuff that despite all the things that I hate about most shows it has, but in such a good way. It's like a Reuben. I
Mhm.
don't like most of the things on a Reuben, but Reubens are one of my favorite sandwiches.
I don't like corned beef.
I like corned beef, but like I don't like Thousand Island dressing. I don't like sauerkraut. I don't typically like Swiss cheese. You know what I mean? But you put them all together on corned beef and rye, I will devour it. Um, and that's Gravity
And
Falls to me. It's not my normal thing, but God, it's good.
yeah, it always believes that its audience is smart enough to understand what it's going for, and it really benefits from that.
And it
Um,
doesn't lean into the characters being characters too often. Because I made the Rick and Morty reference earlier for many reasons, but
mhm.
that's one of the things with Rick and Morty. They do have great story, but like at the end of the day, they all like you know just random fart joke, blah blah blah. Gravity Falls never does that. It's just like no, we're good enough. We don't need to fall back on that stuff.
Yeah, it's very confident in itself, and it deserves it. What is your favorite episode of Gravity Falls?
Man, um, so I haven't gotten to rewatch season two yet,
Hmm.
but I do. I didn't get to it. It's the episode right after the episode I ended at. It's the deep end.
The
where
deep end.
they go to, it's the pool episode where Wendy's
Oh,
the,
with Mermando the
with
mermaid.
Mermando, yeah, and we quote that one all the time too. Not because of that episode, but like in season two, there's a offhanded comment about Mermando, and the main character Dipper is just like, ah, yes, Mermando. Did not care for Mermando. And the frequency with which we say that in my home, when it's just like a random kid in like my kid's preschool gets mentioned that we aren't a big fan of, or like a family member, or it doesn't matter. It's just like, oh yeah, Mermando's alive. Did not care for Mermando. So just the fact that it exists for me to continue to do that makes me very happy. But I I can't confidently give an answer without having rewatched the whole thing. But well, it's like Time Traveler's Pig is such a good episode, but I wouldn't say it's my favorite. Irrational Treasure, where they find the eighth and a half president of the United States, really good episode. Um,
Which might be one of its biggest cultural impact episodes because it
it's
launched
a
a very
meme.
popular meme. That's the one where Dipper is holding the was it
Negative
the
$12
negative $2
bill.
bill, the negative $12 bill, and he goes, "This is worthless." Um, is always which has been a popular meme for a while.
Yeah, it keeps coming
I
back
think
around.
I would say my favorite episode is season one, episode nine, double, or I'm sorry, season one, episode seven. I have the IMDb open. Double Dipper.
Double Dipper's really
Uh,
good.
which is the episode where Dipper finds the enchanted, seemingly photocopy machine and is able to make clones of himself. I just love when he just keeps cloning himself, and then of course the clones turn on him, and it's great comedy.
It has
Um,
a very trapped in time C Lab 2021 vibe to it almost.
oh, okay, yeah,
You know what
just
I
the,
mean?
the
You just keep making more and
ridiculousness.
more and more of them, and they just slowly turn on each other.
It's it's very clever episode. Big fan.
And one of them, the Paper Jam one, lives
Oh,
rent free in
Paper
my
Jam
mind.
Dipper.
I always
Oh
think of
yeah.
Paper Jam Dipper. He's
Mm.
just one of those random things that'll just pop into my head throughout like the month, and I will just like give a little chuckle. Um, yeah, no, solid show, and season one is really good at doing the X Files thing where it's just kind of monster of the week, and you feel like there's something bigger, but you don't really know what it is. And then in season two, they really front load it. I mean, Mystery Incorporated does the same thing. Season one is very micro compared to the macro of the overall plot, which makes it really easy to get invested in because they plant all the seeds in season one, but you don't know what they're growing until season two, and then there's a huge payoff.
Yeah. I think the only I think the only real criticism I have of the show, and I felt this way the first time I watched it, and I still feel this way upon subsequent rewatches, is the second half of season two. I wish had a little more room to breathe.
Yes, I will.
Um,
I'll say that's true.
yeah. So I wish the show was maybe a half season longer. And I was saying how one of the things I loved about it was just like it's a short show, it's contained. But in the second half of season two, we meet Uncle Stan's brother, their long lost other great uncle. And he's a very important part of the show. It's J.K. Simmons. He's a fantastic actor. Um, And I don't feel like we get enough time with him before the end of the series. I really feel like I wish that those relationships were more developed before we enter the end game of the show.
Yeah, I think about that a
Um,
lot because when he comes back, he's been missing for a long time. He finds out who the kids are, Dipper and Mabel, and it's their younger sister's kids. And and he just has this moment where he's just like, Susie had kids, and like it's just like the amount of time that he missed and the realization and like the happiness, and they don't have time to dive into any of that. Like,
No.
and it's just I fully agree with you because even especially the last three episodes, the series finale is a three-part episode called Weird Mageddon, and even that I feel like that could have been stretched into five.
Yeah.
They just I know he wanted to knock it out in 40 episodes, and he didn't want to have a forced season three, but I think the room was there.
Yeah. So it's funny though. My one of my favorite things about the show and my primary criticism about the show are the same thing, is that it's very tight. Again, I mean, it just means like, oh well, there's more reason to go back and rewatch episodes because there's so few of them. But
And it's
I
got such a
really,
great cast.
everybody on the show is really good. It's one of the first big Kristen Shaw animated shows. You know, she's kind of everywhere now, but I feel like she kind of found her voice as a animated girl in the
Yeah,
show. Or was Bob's Burgers before
I'm
this, or was this?
looking that up right now. Yeah, Bob's Burgers had gotten one season at this point, so
Oh, okay.
it wasn't even a big show then. Like it was still potentially getting canceled. Bob's Burgers season two is only like 6 to 8 episodes long. It got an abridged season two. Um, so I think you're right. Like Bob's Burgers got bigger, but this was her first big thing because Bob's Burgers didn't blow up until after this.
Right, and I feel like now Kristen Shaw as a voice actress is just someone who, if you see a precocious little girl in an animated series, it's probably her or Kate McCucci. You
Yeah.
know, they've kind of cornered the market on those characters. And I love Mabel. I love her so much. There was probably 2 years ago for Halloween, my daughter went as Mabel and I went as Seuss.
Oh, that's awesome.
Um, it was one of my very favorite costumes that we did. Um,
But you got
but she's
Linda
just such a
Cardinelli.
oh yeah, I love her. I've loved her since Freaks and Geeks.
Yeah. Like you have Carrie Walgreen, who is Zatanna from DC Superhero Girls and a ton of other kid shows. She's Jessica from Rick and Morty. Um, she's also like a big voice actress who this was one of her first bigger things, I believe. I think this really helped launch a lot of people. Um,
Jennifer Coolidge is on this show
Jennifer Coolidge is
as a
Lazy
recurring
Susan.
character,
Yes. You get her,
and
you get
that's funny
John
because
DiMaggio.
you get a little bit too much T.J. Miller for my taste.
I don't remember who he plays. I know he's in it, but oh, he's Robbie.
Yeah,
Oh,
he's
okay.
Robbie, Linda Carlini's character's primary love interest.
And Will Forte's in here. Like, it's
Oh, it's got some Nathan Fillion plays a recurring character as like the very rich person who lives in town.
yes, he is Mabel's foil slash arch nemesis father, and great. Um,
Yeah, he's really good.
yeah, there's just so many good people in this. They got a great cast together. I mean, and they got a lot of polls. Like they got Neil deGrasse Tyson for one episode because their pet pig becomes like super smart in one of
Oh, he
them,
learns to talk.
and that is Neil deGrasse Tyson. They get Mark Hamill for an episode. They just like they have John Oliver and Chelsea Peretti and
You
so
forget that there was a period of time where John Oliver was not just like a TV host, where he was doing a lot of just acting. I think before realizing that, like, oh no, I make more sense as a host.
yeah, because he was doing Community and stuff
So
back
yeah, his
then.
right. So his episode again is one of my favorite episodes where he plays a enchanted wax statue of Sherlock Holmes. Um, and it's perfect John Oliver. One of one of the best things about the show, I think, is our primary villain, Bill Cipher. Um, you get to know a little bit in the first season, and then by the end of the second season, he is like a major villain. I mean, he's the main villain of the show, but I think he ends up being one of the best animated villains put to screen. Just what a character Bill is.
Yeah. I forgot that Alex Hirsch was Hootie in the Owl House.
It's true. Alex Hirsch does a lot of voices in the Owl House because he's also
King.
King. Yeah, so Owl House, Alex Hirsch, the creator of Gravity Falls, his girlfriend or wife, partner, or his partner, I think is the creator of Owl House.
I did not
So
know
they work
that.
together. Yeah. So there's a lot of Gravity Falls, I would say, influence there because she was also one of the main people who made Gravity Falls. I think she was one of the primary creative forces behind Gravity Falls. There is a I think, credible fan theory that Uncle Stan was at one point married to Ida, the owl lady from Owl House.
I love it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there is there's evidence that it's just like this is clearly you intended the fans to pour over the show and find this evidence.
Well, that's one of the things about Gravity Falls, and I think Owl House as well. There's like secret codes throughout every episode that you can decipher, specifically for the fans to go through and like make these connections. So I believe it. Alex Hirsch is really big at doing that. So
Yeah. And I
and
mean, it's also, I mean, going back to Rick and Morty, there's a lot of crossover with Rick and Morty. Um, I imagine that I don't know that this creative partnership remains, but Alex Hirsch was friends with and worked a lot with Justin Roiland, who was subsequently booted off of Rick and Morty. But there's
he
a lot of spots you can see them kind of match up.
he yeah, there is definitely actual scenes that it is officially an alternate reality in the Rick and Morty universe. It is one of the dimensions, but he Justin Roiland is also one of the recurring characters in the show. He's Blendon Blandon
Yeah, yeah, the time traveler of
and a few other people. He's in like 7 episodes, but yeah, him and Alex Hirsch used to share an office together. So that's how they ended up becoming really good friends and writing partners because they were just sharing like office space, and that's how they ended up connecting Gravity Falls and Rick and Morty, and that's how Justin Roiland ended up on uh, Gravity Falls cast.
What's funny is I was wondering if they might replace his audio as Blandon, because they did that for Louis C.K. There was Louis C.K. had a couple of lines in the last couple of episodes of Gravity Falls, and before it made its way to Disney Plus, they removed his audio and replaced it with another actor. I think it was Alex Hirsch, just doing basically doing a Louis C.K. impression.
Oh, I didn't
But
know
they didn't
that.
do that. They didn't end up doing that with Justin Roiland.
I mean, Justin Roiland is a main character in like 7 episodes. he
Yeah, it'd be a little bit more
It
difficult.
would be a lot more work. Cause yeah, I'd also seen that. Crap. How did Tara Strong is also in like one episode like that, and I was, I guess it's already on Disney, but there's a lot of people that have run into problematic stuff since this show came out. T.J.
Yeah, Tara
Miller.
Strong. I don't think has she been. Yeah, TJ. I mean, they love TJ Miller. And have they replaced Tara Strong with in any of the stuff that she was doing? I know there was stuff that she ended up getting fired from.
I know she lost a lot of projects and got fired, but that's the thing. I was like, I haven't heard of them redubbing her lines or anything, and she's just additional voices throughout the show, so she would
Hmm.
be pretty easy.
Hmm. Fascinating stuff.
Tara Strong's one that really gets me because she's in so much children's media. It's like impossible to not have her stuff on.
No, no, she's pretty prolific.
Yeah, and so we have to tolerate it. But yeah, no, I was going through the IMDb for this show, being like, whew, a lot of people fell from grace in the last 12 years. Like,
Yeah, I mean that's true of pretty much everything now.
yeah. But if you,
If
yeah,
this,
go ahead.
Mhm. No, I was gonna say if this show were to come back, how do you think it would? What would you want it? What would you want out of it coming back?
I would want there to be a time jump.
Hmm.
I wouldn't want it to be like winter break or something. I would want it to be like the kids are, because here they're 12 into 13. They turn 13 during the series. I would want it to be like almost, instead of like being in middle school, they're like ending high school, getting ready to go to the next stage of their lives. Coming back out for like a summer in the Oregon woods. And I don't know. I think there's just a lot of potential for, because they're kids, and that helps a lot with a lot of things, but that also restricts them in weird ways.
Sure,
I
they could
don't,
do more mature adventures if they're a little bit older.
and they can just go more places. They can get around easier. Like, because Gravity Falls is like a really spread out town. How are they supposed to be getting around and stuff? But you can solve a lot of those problems just by having them be like, oh, well, they're 16 or 18 or whatever. And then you still get the same divides. Like, Dipper's in love with Wendy, but she's older than him. So now he's still like a senior in high school. She's a college student. There's that gap. You know what I mean? There's always a
That's
gap.
true. As they get older, the perceived gap in their age would get smaller and smaller.
Yeah. And so this is the last time you have that big, like, perceivable gap where it's like he's still in high school. She's in
Right.
college. But after that, it's just like, yeah, you're in your 20s.
Yeah, nobody cares.
Yeah, so I think they should do at least 2 years jump where they're like 15ish, like freshman in high school or like senior in high school. Um, but I haven't given it a lot of thought recently where I would want it to go. I might have more thoughts after I finish my rewatch of it, but
I'm divided. Part of me would love to see like a season three, like you said with the time jump. I think it would be, yeah, I think it'd be good if they come in and it's been a few years and they're a little bit older, um, to make it feel more like, oh, we're returning to Gravity Falls with them. But part of me would also, I think, love to see this as a live action series, like
oh,
a live action version of it. Um, At the same time, some of the live action versions of animated series have been lacking. Like I liked Avatar, the live action, but there were places where there was a lot missing, and you could tell, um, because the seasons are so much shorter and they kind of pack so much more in. But I feel like it could really be a good live action series, as long as they kept, I think, the level of writing up high enough, because there would be the kind of temptation, I think, to dumb it down a lot for a broader audience if it was more expensive to make.
so do the reverse of what they're doing with Married with Children now.
What happened? What Married with Children? I know there was a
Married with
revival.
Children is coming back with the original cast, but they're animating it now because everyone's so old.
Oh, that makes sense. Well, I mean, especially with Christina Applegate,
Yeah,
she wouldn't be able
she
to.
she can't act like physically anymore, but she can do voice work. So, yeah, they're bringing Married with Children back, but making it animated. So do the opposite of that. Make Gravity Falls live action for season three.
That'd be fun. I hadn't heard that. When was that announced?
I saw it online like last week. I didn't click into it. I wasn't interested enough to like really dive deep. I always just kind of read like the first paragraph and was like, ah, that's kind of cool. And then I moved on
I,
because I'm not like a big Married with Children fan.
yeah, I never got into Married with Children, but I love Katie Seagal for Futurama. I
Everyone
feel
in
like
it,
every time she gets another. Hmm?
Everyone in it is good. Like Katie Siegel's really good. God, I forget the actor's name, but Al Bundy is really good in other things.
Yeah, I watched Modern Family for a couple of seasons, so I liked it. Eventually, I got kind of tired of it.
Yeah, I didn't I used to watch that show a little bit when I was at the gym running. It would be like
Ed
on
O'Neill.
Ed
Ed
O'Neill,
O'Neill.
but I've seen a lot of clips of it. Like Instagram pushes me clips all the time, and Ed O'Neill has some really strong scenes in that. Uh, he's a man who Married with Children destroyed his career because
Oh, sure.
he's a really good actor, but no one could take him seriously. He actually, to try and like break away from that back in the 90s, he did like a drama, and they had to recast him because they filmed it, and during like the audience testing, it was during a funeral, and he walks in and everyone just started laughing, and it was like, this is a serious scene, and we're not getting the tone because it's Ed O'Neill, and so
Because
that's
it's yeah. I remember he did a Dragnet series
yes.
that lasted a very short period of time.
Yeah, he just couldn't get a foothold out of that. And, like, because he played a weird character in Wayne's World. He was weird and Married with Children. And it's a shame because he's a
Oh,
really
like,
solid actor.
I think he has kind of broken out of that now. I mean, especially with Modern Family, I think that was finally when he kind of shed that image.
Yeah, but he
But
was like
that's
in
the
his
same sort of thing
60s.
that happened to yeah, it's true. Same sort of thing that happened with Jim Varney, who could never move away from being earnest.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, Gravity Falls, one of my very favorite shows.
Worth a watch. Give it a few episodes because I love the first episode, but it does tonally shift a little bit after the first episode.
Sure.
Um, First episode is a little more silly. Um, I don't know. I give it 2 or 3 episodes, but I think you should be captured by the first one. It's really good, and watch the
I
shorts.
absolutely by the end of the first episode, I think that I was 100% hooked.
Yeah, because the comedic timing is just it's too good. Like they will make you laugh.
Yeah, and I mean, especially for a show that's over 10 years old now. The show was, it was a while ago, and I think its style of comedy, again, is one of the things that kind of set the tone for a lot of what has come since then, because I think it breaks away from some of the animated shows that came before it, and I think what it is kind of became more the template of what you see now, which is why they still put out things on Disney Plus when they do shorts and stuff. Like they'll usually throw the Gravity Falls characters in there. They seem to still be part of the Disney zeitgeist at the moment.
Yeah, they're still fairly popular. I mean, they as recently as 2020, they were still getting shorts. So, and the
Right.
the show ended in 2016. So,
And they even popped up Bill, the villain, popped up on an episode of The Simpsons at one point,
yeah, Bill's made
which
an
is pretty wild.
appearance in a few shows now, I think. It's like I'm like he's really good at like planting seeds and stuff. Is this part of like an eventual plan to come back? And this is the type of fan I don't like to be cuz I'm like red stringing it.
Yeah, it's just like I want to believe so badly that there's going to be um there's going to be more Gravity Falls. That's why when I saw that rumor earlier today, this was like earlier today, there I was reading something about how um Alex Hirsch was in talks with the Disney about doing some additional Gravity Falls. That I was like, I want so badly for this to be true. Like I'm gonna go out and buy the comics and the books so I could get some more content. I was at my sister's house and my nephew had some of the books and I was like, oh, I'm just gonna sit in my nephew's room and read Gravity Falls books.
Yeah. It's I as I was going through the wiki, I was like, "Oh, there's a lot of books. I need to see how much new content there is because he hasn't done anything big since Gravity Falls as a writer. He wrote some of Inside Job, which was a weird Netflix animated series for adults that was like making fun of like the deep state and the Illuminati.
Oh, I heard about that one.
Yeah, it had a very like Rick and Morty looking vibe, so I didn't dive into it, but since it's Alex Hirsch, that makes sense. So maybe I have to give it a second, thing now, but I don't even know if that was his. I think he was just he was one of the creators. Okay. But otherwise, that's the only thing he's done since 2016 that wasn't like an acting thing or just like a one-off episode. So, although he does have an upcoming project that is currently untitled, so I'm optimistic.
I'm hoping that's secretly more Gravity Falls.
Yeah,
Please.
please
As
let it
long
be.
as it's worth it. That's that. So like as long as there's a good story to tell. Otherwise, I'm happy with what we got. Regardless of if the second half of season 2 was a little rushed.
Yeah. All right, I feel like we've covered this.
Yeah, go watch Gravity Falls. If you haven't watched it, absolutely go check it out. It's fantastic.
100% worth it. All right, where can they find us, Sam?
You're gonna find us on Facebook and Instagram. We are at RTSpiritsPod. If you go to those pages, you're gonna be able to see the mid-journey images that we put together for our cryptid discussion a little earlier. So please do that. Also, let us know what shows do you think we should cover in the future. Let us know what you think of Gravity Falls. We want to hear what you have to say.
All right, I'm Steve.
I'm Sam.
Thanks for joining us.
Bye.